Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. My name is Aaron. I'm delighted to be joined here by Matthew Hurley from the GAA Statsman podcast to run through all the weekend's National Hurling League action. Certainly plenty to discuss, plenty to break down as well. You'd obviously Limerick recording their first win of the season, Cork sealing back-to-back wins, plenty of results to discuss up and down the country. Matthew, how's things with yourself?
Yeah, all good, Aaron. Thanks for having me on again. Yeah, it's a bit of a quiet weekend compared to everything else, really. There was only the rugby on Saturday, and then there was the hurling, no football, no ladies football or anything. I suppose the Ashford Cup drama took centre stage this weekend, unfortunately. Yeah, it was a bit of a boring weekend. And then on League Sunday last night, they only proceeded to show Division 1 games, didn't show Division 2 games whatsoever. So the opportunity lost there. But yeah, we'll discuss it in detail more than RT, I'd imagine, for Division 2 games especially. So yeah, looking forward to the chat.
Absolutely. And you know, I was thinking, like, even before maybe we go into the games and sort of break them down, is obviously I suppose maybe the feeling around the National Hurling League at the minute. And obviously me and you have spoken about this on, you know, when I've had you on in the past and when I've been on your show and even listening to other podcasts as well. Like, there seems to be a real sort of, like, the appetite just isn't there whatsoever for the National Hurling League. And I think when you look at the structure, when you look at the fact that so many teams are avoiding relegation even before a ball is pucked, really, like, the appetite just doesn't seem to be there for the National Hurling League this year.
Doesn't at all. It's kind of yearly at this point. Like, I think ever since they changed us from Division 1A and 1B being conjoined, I think it's just become a non-competition, really. It's a glorified pre-season competition. Like, you look at the league at the moment, like Division 1A, even before a ball is poked, you think Westmeath gone. And then you look at Division 1B, Leisure Antrim, whoever loses that game is gone as well. And it's just boring at this stage, Aaron. And when you look at the semi-final, with the fact, I don't know the clarifications for this year that now, but if there is semi-finals this year, it's a farce, to be honest, because that's just going to add to more games this season when there's going to be round robins in Leinster and Munster. And yeah, it's kind of hard to judge these teams as well. I know Cork have won 2 games in a row, but like, there's the argument, do Limerick and Galway even care about the league as well as that? Like, you look at Tipperary winning 2 games, it should be a morale boosting few weeks for them. But then you ask a question, do Kilkenny care? So, you know, it's a lot of ins and outs. It's very, very boring. But Conor McKenna, who you had on your podcast, actually made a very good point about the hurling league. The more I thought about it, Division 1 doesn't really matter. But when you look at Division 2 and Division 3, there's actually some very tight games there. And there's some actual promotion and relegation. But the fact it's not even shown on RT, like on League Sunday last night, which was a disgrace, to be honest, but especially with Kildare and Down being shown on the BBC iPlayer. Why not show them games? Them games have meaning. You know, Division 1 games at the moment, like Westmeath and Wexford, for example, I knew the result before, you know, the whistle went. It was ridiculous, really. And you know who's going down, you know who's going to challenge and stuff like that. Teams can play second teams. Like, they're playing 2 completely different teams. We're not doing scores. Like, most teams actually have 16 different scores, which suggests to me they have 2 completely different teams in 2 weeks. They can afford to do that. Whereas in the Football League, you have to play your first team every single week because there's a sort of meaning to it. And I think the meaning in hurling is gone, to be honest with you. And I think to resurrect it, Seamus Brady came up with this idea, have 6 teams in Division 1 and then 6 teams in Division 2 and vice versa. That's the only way you'll have meaningful promotion or relegation. But the system that's there now with the Allianz Hurling League, it's hardly going to be exciting, Aaron, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's a strange one because obviously we are here to review the games and break down the games. But something I was nearly even thinking of there when you were sort of running through all those valid points was, is there nearly a case for them just to completely scrap the league, completely just get rid of it? Because like you have the Munster round robin, you have the Leinster round robin. You could argue the case that you don't even need the league really.
You don't need it, no. Like the current structure, you don't need it at all. Like I think if you have 6 teams in Division One, the top division, I think there's a bit of a meaning there. There was a meaning back in the day with hurling where you had Division 1A, the main division, and then Division 1B, the secondary division. And then you had meaningful promotion and relegation. Nowadays they're conjoined. I don't know whose idea it was to conjoin the divisions, but it's just made the league a lot more boring. And when you look at it, like I love the J and you love the J, but it's kind of hard to make content when the games mean nothing. I know Cork, for example, did well against Galway, Dublin did well against Antrim, Tipperary won 2 games, it's brilliant and all that. But you said to me off air when we're recording for my podcast during the week, that'll be out later on in the week. You were saying, like, what does these wins actually mean for the likes of Cork, for the likes of Tipperary? They don't mean anything down the line. They don't mean you're qualifying for Munster. Like Tipperary could win 3 games in a row, Cork could win 3 games in a row, and then both of them could be inevitably knocked out in Munster. So where's the meaning of these games? I don't know where it is, to be honest with you. I was doing a live stream in Clare and Limerick, but yes, you were analysing how they were playing and stuff like that, Clare and Limerick. It usually is a very good battle, the battle of the Shan side. But I was looking through the game and I'm thinking, what's the meaning of it? Who's gaining something out of this game? What are they going to learn and things like that? And yeah, from a Cork point of view as well, I know they have 4 points, but the next game is against Westmeath. That's a guaranteed 6. And it's ridiculous. I know you want Cork to win every week as a Cork fan, but you know the result before the ball's thrown in, and that's just very sad. And there probably is an argument to scrap the league if they do what Seamus Brady and Play on GA suggested, then play the league. But if you're playing the league this way, don't play it at all, because it's a waste of time, really. I said this last week as well in your podcast. It's a waste of time for us. It's a waste of time for teams winning. It's a waste of time for teams losing. They don't learn anything. And yeah, it's at this stage we're thinking roll on the championship, because the league is getting really boring at this stage.
Yeah, I'd agree with Shay there as well. I think he makes some good points. Like I think putting 6 teams as Division 1, and then obviously one team goes down into Division 2. Like I think it would be great. It might maybe limit the opportunity for teams like Westmeath and Laois to play Division 1 hurling. But I think at the same time, you do look at it and think, like, are they really benefiting week in, week out, playing against Limerick, Clare, Galway, Cork, and getting absolutely hammered? I know you might have the odd anomaly where, for example, Wexford put up a bit of a fight against Westmeath. You had Antrim, who beat Clare a couple of years ago. You do have shocks and surprises, but generally speaking in hurling, they are very few and far between. And I just don't think it can do those counties any good when they're getting absolutely battered week in, week out, really.
Yeah, exactly. And we've been saying, we're like a broken record saying this year in, year out. Antrim, Westmeath, and Laois are just going to get hammered in Division 1 every year. Offaly was the same last year. Like, it's just getting beyond boring at this point. Like, I remember a game, I was scorekeeping and doing a report at Cork against Westmeath and Parky Keith. Cork scored 7 goals. And I'm sorry, I know Cork won the game and you should be delighted over it as a Cork fan, but you're thinking, this is boring. You know the score before the ball's thrown in. You're trying to gain positives out of this, but I just can't really. Like, you look at the Football League, for example. The Football League is a brilliant system at the moment. 8 teams per division, and they're all evenly matched games. Like you mentioned the first week, I remember specifically. The only games where there was one-sided affairs, I think, in the last few weeks was Westmeath against Longford. I think Leitrim against Waterford was another. I think that was it, as far as my memory goes. The rest of the games were closely contested, and they were so interesting to watch. Well, Cork Kildare, I suppose, as well, but even before a ball was thrown in that game, you didn't know the result. You didn't know who would win, Cork or Kildare. It could go either way. With this hurling league, like Westmeath and Wexford yesterday, I knew the result. Even Laois putting up a showing against Waterford, I knew the result. Even when Roy Mullally scored 2-2 or whatever it was from centre back, I knew the result during the game. And that's why I didn't do stats on it, because it was a complete waste of time, to be honest with you. If the GA don't change the hurling league, if they don't listen to the people over this, listen to the fans, then what's the point of it? Seriously. I don't know what is the point. Like, I know Clare have been struggling in recent games, especially against Limerick, but there's no danger of them going down, because they're going to play West. They played Westmeath in the first game and won it comprehensively. So, like, yes, no, I think it's a boring enough league. It's boring every year now, Aaron. If they don't change the system, what's the point, And yeah, I think the football. Thank God for the football because that's a very entertaining league with some meaning to it. But this hurling league, no meaning whatsoever.
Yeah, like and I think when it gets around to the semi-final stage or the final stage, you definitely do see a bit of interest, and especially around the final last year with Waterford and Cork. Like that was a game I did enjoy, but I think until it gets to that stage, there are a lot of nothing games. And as you said, like Clare beating Westmeath, they already have 2 points on the board. They pretty much have survival already wrapped up. So like they're probably not going to get to a league semi-final. So in some ways they can already just clock out for the league until the championship comes around. Like so, certainly a lot for the GEA to work on there. But we will crack through some of the results from the weekend, and I suppose we'll start with the game on Saturday night. It was Limerick 127, Clare 218. Obviously, two big rivals, these two down the years, both Limerick and Clare. We've seen them go hammer and tongs in the championship in the league, and it's Limerick who come out the victors once again.
It is, yeah. It was like the first half was pretty interesting. Like Clare getting that goal in the first half through Ian Galvin, and you were thinking Clare could make a comeback here. But the reality was, in the first half, they scored 1-1 from play. And to be honest, that wasn't really good enough to compete with this Limerick team. And you see with the Limerick team now, they're well and truly back, Aaron. Like you look at the first half performance against Cork and this performance against Clare, they're back bigger and stronger earlier on this year, and it's not a good sign for the rest of the country. This Limerick team is outstanding, really. Donegal Dog with a goal as well. Very good performance. Micheál Houlihan with 12 points, 4 from play. Kyle Hayes coming back into the team. Peter Casey. Garrod Hagerty showing his skills again. Shane O'Brien having that battle with Rory Hayes all night. And to be honest, upended so many times by Rory Hayes as well. Clare, they could take some positives from the last 10 minutes, really. But then again, look, I'd worry about Clare. I know they have good players coming up like Mark Rogers, Robert Mounsey for the Fitzgibbon Cup, for example, very good players. David Reedy coming on for 1-2. But it seems to be a common trend now with Clare in these types of games. With Limerick, they perform well in the last 10 minutes, really. Against Wexford last year, they performed well in the last 10 minutes. And in the Wexford game, in fairness, they got the win at the end of it. But Wexford obviously aren't as good as Limerick. So if they're facing sides like Limerick, Kilkenny, or somebody like that, they could get torn apart if they don't wake up in the first 60 minutes. That's the issue with this Clare team. That's the only negative I'd find with them. But yeah, Limerick roll on with another win, and it's not a good sign for the rest of the country at all because this Limerick team is ready for road.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and I suppose from a Limerick perspective, like we've seen with the likes of Shane O'Brien and a few of the other young lads that have coming into the side, like it doesn't look like this production line is slowing down anytime soon for Limerick. Like you seen last year, they Keane Lynch out for the year. They still adapted without and went on to win the All Ireland. This year, at this moment in time, they have a lot of players missing, but the younger lads who are coming in, Adam English, O'Brien. Barry Coughlin's one who stood up last year. Cathal O'Neill last year was another one who stood up. Like these players are making an impact, and the production line isn't slowing down for Limerick, which is why, as you said, for the rest of the country, like this could be very worrying because Limerick, like they're just not going anywhere anytime soon.
They're not, no. And even Colin Collin was another lad that didn't play on Saturday night. And you look at him, his talents, and then you bring on Kieran Barry, who did so well in the half-back line as well. Like this Limerick team is an embarrassment of riches, to be honest with you. I don't see how anybody's going to stop them. A lot of people are thinking they're overrated, but I don't like. We're going through this discussion again. Will they break Dublin's record and go for 6 or 7 in a row? This Limerick team, I think, is on the road to do that. The production line isn't over, as you said there. Micheál Houlihan, like he's been good at club level. The question was, can he translate into inter-county level on Saturday night? He definitely could. Like he was absolutely incredible. Donegal Darling, even though some people on League Sunday call him Donald Daly on Sunday night. But yeah, he made a very, very good cameo there with a goal. He's got a point again against Cork. Peter Casey coming back in the team as well. And I think, said it before to say it again, Peter Casey, underrated player, 3 points for play again. He's an incredible incredible asset to have in that team. Adam English, and one knows with Adam English as well, he was doing a lot of defensive work as well around the back line for Limerick, and he's usually a forward, a usually nippy forward. So he adds that to his game as well. Cian Lynch is coming back to fitness as well. You have Tom Morrissey. Declan Hannon didn't play any part of that game against Clare. So that's a big worry, and he's one of the best centre-backs in the country. You have Mike Casey there who didn't play any part. So this Limerick team, Barry Nash is another one. This Limerick team is not going to stop it. And I think they are going for a 4 in a row this year, possibly even going for 5, 6 in a row. This Limerick team isn't going anywhere, and I don't think anybody wants to hear us, but I think there could be a serious domination from this team that John Coyle has built.
Yeah, like and Cole Hayes at wing back as well. Like I think I've spoken to yourself and other people I've had on the show down the years. Like do you think that is his best position? Because like he hit 3 points against Clare. Like in my opinion, I think it is his best position because you've seen a couple of years ago against Tipperary the impact he made from that position, and in 2021, 2020 as well. Like last year, I think he was still good and he still had an impact in the game, but I think those drive and runs, like I think that it's trademark Cole Hayes. So I think like him at wing back, in my opinion, it's his best position. But what do you think?
It probably is his best position. Yeah, when you think about the embarrassment of riches there, you have Cian Lynch at centre forward, you even have Donegal Dálig or Micheál Houlihan to come in. Like, but you think about Micheál Houlihan was playing at number 12, and that's Tom Morrissey's position. You've Garrett Hagerty there as well. This is going to be the hardest job that John Coyle has to do, really, to pick the team, because who is going to drop out of this? Yeah, and who we haven't mentioned, Aaron Gallan has to come back as well, and he's one of the best hurlers in the country. You know, but Kyle Hayes, like, I would have been interested to see him centre back, but then again, like Declan Hannon has made that position his own. Dan Morrissey in fairness played well at centre back. Didn't do too badly. Colin Collins, another player. You've Dermot Burns hasn't played any part in the league either. Oh my! Like this Limerick team, it's gonna keep getting better and better as this year goes on, particularly in regards to Kyle Hayes. Yeah, like he's so versatile. He can play anywhere. Like I think if you put him midfield, he could even do a job there. He's an incredible athlete that never stops running. Like wing back is a good position for him, centre back. But then again, like you'd have to put Declan Hannon at centre back. You'd have to put Cian Lynch when he's fit at centre forward. You have to put Tom Morrissey and Garrett Hagerty there. You'd wonder where you put Micheál Houlihan in the team. So maybe instead of, I know this is harsh because he played well the other night, but Darragh O'Donovan possibly. He could play Darragh O'Donovan's role in midfield, and maybe have Dan Morrissey as a wing back. But then you have Colin Collin there as well. Oh my, like Dermot Burns. Oh my, I can't even pick the team, Aaron, to be honest with you. I definitely imagine how John Coyle is feeling at the moment, because this is a very, very hard job. But maybe it's worth pointing out, could Kyle Hayes go into midfield? Maybe they could try that. Like he can play in many positions. Why not try him in midfield? He's a big lad, so why not try him there?
Yeah, like it's certainly something I wouldn't be against personally. Like I think he already has the attributes. He's getting high up the pitch. You know, a lot of his role probably wouldn't even change that much. He'd just be playing more sort of around the centre of the park. But I suppose a word on Clare, like disappointment from them. Didn't really get going until the final 10 minutes. I felt David Reedy made a bit of an impact scoring 1-2 off the bench. But apart from that, a little bit disappointing. I seen Brian Lohan getting a bit feisty with some reporters after the game, which is kind of funny. But look, again, I suppose the old age expression, it is only the league, so we don't really know too much. But obviously for Clare, a little bit flat, and maybe that might be a bit worrying.
It is, I'd say, a bit worrying. Well, I suppose a positive other than David Reid to take, Aidan McCarthy scoring 13 points, and he's the top scorer in the Division 1 of the National League at the moment. Very good performance with 13 points. But other than McCarthy and Reedy, there was nothing really from this Clare team. That's the worry. Ian Galvin got a goal, but that was about it. Shane Murray had a decent enough game, but yeah, like I seen that tweet from a Clare reporter about Brian Lohan as well. Is he losing it? You know, that's the big thing. I know it's only the league, and we shouldn't read too much into it. But like I was thinking this at the start of the year with Clare as well. We've had this situation with Clare teams in the past as well. They have one good year, one absolutely brilliant year, which was almost like last year running Limerick so close and then getting to an All-Ireland semi-final. And then they followed up with a pretty mediocre year. Take case in point, really, 2018 and 2019. 2018, they got so close to Galway, they probably should have beat them in that All-Ireland semi-final. And then 2019, they get knocked out in the first round. In 2013, they win the All-Ireland. 2014, they get knocked out in the first round. Maybe it's a common theme with Clare. I don't know. I was thinking this at the start of the year. Then looked at their team and thinking maybe this Clare team has turned a corner. But look at that performance the other night and Brian Lohan going at reporters. I'm thinking, could that old trait be coming back to bite Clare? We'll have to see in the next few weeks, but it's definitely a thought process going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely be worth keeping an eye on Clare in detail. I mean, as you said, plenty of talent, and still have the likes of Tony Kelly, obviously, to come back into the Clare side at some point in the year as well. Another one of the standout games from Division 1A was Galway versus Cork. Bit of a cracking game, this, in fairness. Galway 322, Cork 424. 7 goals. You had red cards, you had black cards, drama left, right, and centre. A host of late goals in the game. As a Cork fan, back-to-back wins. It's looking good.
It is looking good, but we've gone over this so many times. It's only the league, and Cork fans should really just calm down a small bit. I know it's 2 games, it's 2 wins against Galway and Limerick, probably, in my opinion, the 2 best teams in the country, but there is an argument. Do Galway and Limerick, especially Limerick in the first week, do they really care about the league? So we shouldn't really get ahead of ourselves. There are some positives, like in fairness, like Declan Dalton scoring 6 points for play and setting up the 2 goals as well. He's kind of a star in the making now, this guy. I said it so many times after the Senior A Championship. He was one of the top scorers in the Cork Championship there at the second tier level for Father O'Neill's. He guided them to the Premier Senior grade this season. And he's shown that he's brought that form into intercounty. And he's been absolutely outstanding. Like Conor Lehan scoring 2-3 from play. Sean Toomey getting 2 goals. He got 4 goals in 1 game for Corsie Rovers in the Cork Championship as well. So you could see he's a goal getter in that team as well. So very good to hear. Shane Barrett replacing Patrick Horgan, no bother with him, scoring 4 points. Brian Hayes coming off the bench, Conor Callahan. Very impressed with Conor O'Callaghan and cornerback, actually. Very good performance from him. Intercepted the ball a lot. The worrying thing for Cork in the last few minutes, even with Oisin Salmon getting his marching orders, Galway still found 2 goals to get back into the game. That would be a worry for Cork. We can't allow that to happen in the next few weeks. If Cork would have let that lead slip yesterday, it would have been a disaster, really. And a lot of questions would have been asked about this Cork team, and the resolve shown, really, as well. But look, it's a win. A win's a win. It's a league game. But for Galway, look, they were very good in the first half. I thought they were shooting the lights out. Evan Nolan was outstanding with 3 points for play. I thought Kevin Cooley played well. Martin McManus did very well in his first league appearance. Conor Whelan did a lot of work around the middle of the field. But really, the thing that let Galway down, the shot selection was actually brilliant. They got over 70% of their shots, Galway. The issue was the red card. Once they got the red card, then things started to fall apart. Cork got a few goals, got the run of them, and then the game looked to be over. But Galway showed great resolve, in fairness, to get back into the game. But if Cork were to lose that lead in the last few minutes, it would have been a lot of questions to answer, Aaron, I'd say.
Yeah, plenty of comments flying in there, so much appreciated. Anyone who's tuning in there, if you could hit the like button and subscribe, it would be much appreciated. But Hurling1234 says Cork missing Pat Horgan, Sean O'Donoghue, Dara Fitzgibbon, Jack O'Connor, Harnedy, Tim O'Mahony, Robbie O'Flynn, Niall O'Leary, Mark Coleman, and very little of the new Bars players have played just yet. And makes a great point. I mean, there is a lot of players. I know Patrick Horgan played the last day against Limerick, but generally, like, there is a lot of players missing. And it was even something I said in my own match reaction yesterday, was that, like, there's huge depth in this Cork side, and that can't go unnoticed. Like, in terms of depth and options available, like, you have to have one of the best squads in the country.
You'd think that, but Limerick, like, I named the Limerick guys that were missing. Aaron Gallan and Dermot Burns are still missing, and Limerick still hammered Clare the other night. So I still think Limerick have much the better squad than us. They better strength and conditioning than us. Galway still have players to come back as well. Like Conor Mannion only came on the last day against Cork. He didn't play the first game at all against Wexford. You still have players to come back in that team as well. You still have players like TJ Reid and Owen Cody to come back for Kilkenny. So, look, I hold the brakes a small bit about this team. Like, a lot of people were saying Cork had dipped last year, and look what happened in the championship. We were a bit of a mess, to be honest with you. So, like, look, the main thing for Cork, and I've said this in the first week and all that, the main thing, get out of Munster, possibly get to a Munster final, win a trophy. That's the big thing for this Cork team. I know I'm being harsh and all that, but like, we've said this all along, and we said it all along in this episode specifically. It's only the league, and Cork fans shouldn't really, jump to conclusions a small bit. I know they have very good performers all over the field, but then there's the argument as well. Galway might not have cared about yesterday. So, and they had a man sent off as well. Let's rewind. Like, before the sending off, it was a level game, and Galway were actually poking their noses in front most of the game in the first half. Let's not forget that. So there's still some work to do for this Cork team. It looks a good win. The goals make it a very, very good win for Cork, but there's still a long way to go yet for All Irelands to talk about All Ireland. There's still one of the greatest teams in history lurking around the bushes in Limerick. So we shouldn't really, go overboard just yet. It's a good start. 2 wins from 2, move on. I think we'll beat Westmeath the third game. So 3 wins from 3. We'll move on, hopefully get out of Munster this year, and then surely we'll progress into the All Ireland series, and then we'll see how we go from there.
Is that the worry for Cork, do you think, in terms of closing out games? Like, we've seen that down the years under Kieran Kingston in particular. You think back to the meeting between Cork and Kilkenny a couple of years ago, Galway Cork last year in the quarterfinals. Like, closing out games seems to be a big issue, and game management seems to be a big issue for Cork.
It does, yeah, and it was shown in spades now yesterday. In fairness to them, like, it's like allowing a team with 14 men. I know it was Galway and all that, and Henry Sheffield is an outstanding coach, and Brian Buchanan coming on, Coleman and Mannion coming on. There was going to be a bounce back effect for Galway, but some of the last 2 goals that Cork conceded through Brian Buchanan and Martin McManus, they were avoidable, really. So that's a bit of a worry. Maybe sitting back a bit too much. There was a bit of a worry there, and Cork not closing out the game as they should have. That's a worry, and that needs to be fixed if we're going to challenge with the likes of Limerick. Like, if we're 10 points up against, I'd say, let's say, like, I don't think it's going to happen, but if we're 10 points up against Limerick with 20 minutes to go or something, there's still going to be a thought in the process of Cork fans that Limerick could pull it back here, because like, we don't close out games particularly well, and that's the big problem with this Cork team. Like, when you look at the wins we got last year, Waterford had a man sent off in Austin Gleeson. Tipperary were a bit of a mess, in all honesty. And Antrim still made a comeback at us as well. So like, it's still a worry about this Cork team, that we allow teams way too easily to come back into games. We were still in the ascendancy against Galway, let's not forget, at the stage in the quarterfinal, and we still allowed pretty easy points from Galway to go over the bar. So like, I would have this worry about this Cork team. If we're going to develop even further, we need to close out games better. We didn't do so yesterday. We got away with it. We move on to the next game now, but our last 2 games now in this league are against Wexford and Clare. I think, like, if we win one of those games and we perform well, look, there's positive signs, but we need to, look, we've won 2 games out of 2, Aaron. We may as well go for the league now. We may as well win a trophy. We said we were on the road for a league last season, and we got destroyed by Waterford in the final. So, look, it's positive signs, but still a bit of vulnerabilities as shown by the game yesterday.
Yeah, and last in Division 1A, you had Westmeath 115, Wexford 223. As we were saying there at the top of the show, like, a result that I think we all pretty much expected, really. I suppose from a Wexford point of view, like seeing Ross Banville scoring 1-3, Cathal Dunbar, like there is, players coming through for Wexford, and that will give Dara Egan a bit of positives, going later into the year.
It would do, yeah, and Conor McDonald scoring freely as well. And Wexford did well in this game, but look, said it all along, like, we knew the result before the ball was thrown in. I know Westmeath put up a showing. Killeen Doyle got sent off later on, I was hearing as well. So, like, Westmeath, they're probably going to lose this game. And even when you look at the table now, I think they're on minus 36 points difference or something like that. So, and it is actually bang on. So, yeah, it looks pretty ominous for Westmeath. But for Wexford, look, they'll go to the next game now. They'll attempt to win there. But look, I think Wexford are pretty much safe now, so they might just take off the shackles, go for the Leinster Championship, bring through a few new players. And on Ross Bample as well, I still think he's an unbelievable player. He's shown it for DCU in this Fitzgibbon Cup. He's a very, very good player. And Shed Beliers in the Wexford Championship a few seasons ago as well. He's a very, very promising player. Wexford probably should play him more often. Lee Chin made his comeback as well yesterday. So they do have good players. The problem for Wexford is taking their shots, properly. Like they didn't do so against Galway the last day. It wasn't much of a test yesterday. The next test, they need to, practice more on their shooting, shoot properly, and then be on the road. But they do have some good players, Wexford. It's about converting their shots. That's the main thing for Darry Egan, I'd say.
Yeah, moving on to Division 1B, starting things off with the meeting of Kilkenny and Tipperary. Kilkenny 121, Tipperary 224. A first win at Nolan Park for the Premier County in 15 years. I suppose, first of all, quite the statistic, really, that Tipperary hadn't won at Nolan Park in 15 years. It probably shows how strong Kilkenny have been at Nolan Park through the years. And what an achievement, obviously, for Liam Cahill, I suppose, going in as manager and getting the victory and getting the win. And I suppose from a Kilkenny point of view, disappointment from them, but for Tipperary, huge start. And who would have thought it's the older guard that are still pushing this Tip side on?
Yeah, you nearly think so. I know Noel McGrath and Jason Forger on the score sheet, but Jake Morris, who have been banging on about on this podcast and my own podcast for years now, has scored 1-2 for play. I still think he's an unbelievable player, unbelievably skillful player, and he showed that yesterday. Tipperary looked, from the highlights anyway, Tipperary looked pretty comfortable to win this game, which is unlike Kilkenny teams. Like Derry Ling is still trying to find his structure in his team. Like Owen Cody's missing, TJ Reid is missing, the Stum and the Ballyhale lads still missing from this team, so they will be back, I'm sure. It was very positive signs for Tipperary. Like Jason Ford, outstanding performance now yesterday, 1-6 from play. That is monstrous, really, monstrous scoring return from him. But even the 2 goals that Tip scored, they were a bit too easy from a Kilkenny point of view. When you look at the Jason Ford goal, too much space in the back line. That would worry Derek Ling going forward. And then for the second goal for Jake Morris's goal, they were just playing around the back, and it was a messy situation at the end, which ended up in the back of the net. So that'll be a bit of a worry going forward for Kilkenny, but they will have the Ballyhale lads, so I'm sure they'll be fine. But for Tipperary, good start for them. Good start under Liam Cahill. And there's a thing now that Tipperary could get out of Munster this year. Munster could be very tough now this year. But it looks of it so far, it looks as if Cork, Limerick and Tipperary are doing well. But then again, we seen this last year. Waterford won the league and then didn't do much afterwards. So maybe Waterford are doing the opposite this year. But yeah, good start for Tipperary. Good start for Liam Cahill, and good results, and good to break the hoodoo with Nolan Park.
Is there any worry for Kilkenny and Derek Ling, do you think, or is it a case of it is early on in the league and he is obviously, new manager? I know he's been involved with Kilkenny for quite a long time. He served alongside Brian Cody, but is there any worry or concern there with a defeat like this and I suppose a bit of an abject performance?
Yeah, maybe. I know they had defensive issues yesterday. The 2 goals they conceded were very, very sloppy. But then again, they have the Ballyhale lads back in the next few weeks. They have Owen Cody, they have TJ Reid. They should be fine, I'd say. They really should be fine. Once they bring them seasoned Ballyhale players back into the team, they still have Martin Keown, who scored 1-2, John Donnelly, 4 points. Billy Drennan seems to be fitting into the team well as well. So that's a good sign for Kilkenny. It was just defensive issues now yesterday. But look, we go back to the old argument. It is only the league, and Kilkenny, they won't panic. They won't panic. They won the first day against Antrim. They'll go ahead now. When you look at who's in the group, Waterford, Dublin, I'd say they should be Dublin realistically. Waterford could be a draw there, and they'll definitely beat Laois anyway. So that'll put them on 6 or 7 points. So they should be grand in, and they shouldn't really reach a league final after this result after yesterday. But look, again, we said this before today that that could be a good thing for Kilkenny, a blessing in disguise. They can focus on the Leinster Championship, then focus on that, go ahead and win that, and then go to the All-Ireland semi-finals. But look, Derek Ling, we said this about Henry Shefflin last year with Galway, that he was trying to implement his team. With Derek Ling, it'll take a year, maybe 2 years to implement his sort of team with Billy Drennan and all them young lads coming through. And it will take time for Kilkenny. Like Brian Cody has been there for so long. You've seen him with Tyrone. It took a while to get them fix and all that. You look at Manchester United with Alex Ferguson, still haven't fixed their problems after so long. So it's not, Rome wasn't built in a day. It will get fixed soon enough for Kilkenny. But like this result, I know there was defensive issues, evidence, but I won't be worried at all, Aaron. Look, it's the league. They'll focus on the Leinster Championship, I'd imagine, and try and get some victories there.
And just a quick word on Shamie Callan back in the fold with Tipperary. He didn't score yesterday, but he did set up one of the goals, which was good to see. And as we were saying, like with Tipperary, I mean, fair enough, they did have Jason Ford, and there is still plenty of young lads making an impact. But Liam Cahill playing Noel McGrath, playing Shamie Callan, Ronan Maher in there as well. Like Jason Ford, like there is, like he is looking towards his experience, lads, and it isn't a complete reshuffle maybe than what we expected.
There's a lot of new lads coming in. I noticed. I know they have very good old players coming in, and that's sort of what you need to calm the younger fellas down. But when you look at the younger fellas in the team that I wouldn't have noticed in the Liam Sheedy regime, for example, like Adam Tynan is now a mainstay in the team. John Campion. You look at Conor Bowe on the full forward line. Like there's still some very good players. Jake Morris is a very good player as well. Paddy Creedon, if he plays this year, he's an electric hurler as well. Mark Kehoe coming off the bench as well. Tipperary have outstanding players. Garrett O'Connor played last week. I don't think he played any part yesterday, correct me if I'm wrong. But he's an outstanding player for UN in the Fitzgibbon Cup. So you look at them players coming through the ranks, and you look added to the old guard, Seamus Cannon is like a support cast role now, and I think that kind of suits the Tipperary team in full. Jason Ford looks as better as ever this season now so far. You look at Noel McGrath, Barry Hogan did well now yesterday in goal, made a very good save in fairness to them. So the old guard is still doing well for Tipperary. They're still, getting results for them. But it's great to see from the Tipperary point of view. They do have the talent, there's no doubt about that. It's just playing the young talents when needed be. And I think Liam Cahill is definitely doing that. It's a very good start for Tipperary, and long may it continue, because that'll make up for a very, very tasty Munster Championship later on the year on.
Yeah, Tipperary 12-1 to win the All Ireland. Worth a punt.
Oh, gee, no, I'd say not. No, I'd say Limerick are well set. What are the odds for them to reach the All Ireland final? Like that could be.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. Yeah, but yeah, that maybe could be something. But I was just looking at the odds there earlier today, just kind of out of interest. Interesting enough, like Waterford are even further odds, but I'll probably just go to show. Like I think bet responsibly, and that's keep your money in your pockets, because I think Limerick are too far ahead at this moment in time. But certainly with Tipperary, you can just never quite rule them out. We'll run through the other two games in Division 1 very briefly, because there probably isn't too much to discuss there. It was Dublin 28 points, Antrim 219, and it was Laois 219, Waterford 231. So wins for both Dublin and Waterford. Maybe a word on the Dubs. I watched a bit of the game. I kind of had it on in the background. It looked like Dublin were fairly comfortable and cruising right up until the final 10 minutes. And it got a little bit hairy towards the end. And to be honest, under Micheál Donoghue, like it's early days yet, but I don't know. I'm not entirely impressed just yet, but it is still very early, in fairness.
And usually with Dublin teams with a new manager, they get a bounce early on in the league, and then they think they're brilliant, and then they don't do well in the championship. Like case in point with Joe Cunningham in 2015, like they did well in the league, then the championship they were nothing really. I know they had that win over Limerick, but they didn't really show us in the quarterfinal against Waterford afterwards. I think Micheál Donoghue, again, like everything, he's trying to build his team. And that's the main thing with Dublin. Like, there's still a few new lads. One new lad, actually, and you never thought this, a Cork lad is playing in the Dublin team. Number 8, Chris O'Leary. From West Cork himself, from Innishannon, he's on the Dublin team. I never thought I'd say this, the Cork guy playing for Dublin, but there you go. He scored 3 points yesterday, so very good performance from him. Very, very proud of him, I'm sure, in the Valley Rovers GA club down in Cork. But yeah, good performance from Dublin. Donald Burke still hitting the lights out. Very good performance. Antrim made a comeback at the end, but look at the highlights in this game. Dublin really had this game under control. It was almost like Cork's performance against Galway. They let them slip back in towards the end, but they were really always in control that Dublin win this game. For the Waterford game, to be honest, like the main talking point was the guy behind the goal, and that probably just showed what a boring game this was, to be honest with you. We knew, again, like the Westmeath game, we knew the result, but Yeah, the guy behind the goal with the technology. I suppose it's enhanced now with Davy Fitz putting him there. And yeah, it's a bit of a risky move. And Ursula Jacobs actually mentioned, what they do that in Crow Park? Will they put him in the stand? Will they put him in the hill? How will this go? Like, it should be very interesting as the year goes on, Aaron.
Yeah, like technically there's no rule against it really, because like if he says he's a supporter, then what? Like, do you know what I mean? Like then you can't, like you have to leave him there. Do you know that way? Like it's probably one of them things with the grounds that Waterford are playing at in the league. But as you said in Crow Park, like he'll be in the stands, he'll be a good bit away from the goal, be on the hill. Like he won't be able to communicate then, so it won't work then. But yeah, like it's an interesting tactic from Davy Fitz. Like I'm not really sure what the long term aim of it is, because you definitely won't get away with that in Crow Park.
Oh, no, he won't. Like, geez, I'm wondering now. I seen someone actually do this in the World Cup. They switch from stadium to stadium. I wonder, can you switch from stand to stand during a game? Could you just leave the canal end, just go out at half time and then run around as fast as you can to the hill, and then do statistics there or something like that? But I don't think the groundsman in Crow Park would allow it, to be honest with you. They wouldn't even allow it in Park Keys, to be honest. They would allow probably in Walsh Park. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult to see how they do that in future. Maybe Davy Fitz could do something, maybe a bit of innovative thinking here. Maybe have one lad for Crow Park in particular, one lad on the canal end and one lad in Hill 16. That could work, But yeah, I think they'll have to ban it, I'd say, but there isn't a rule. But usually, Aaron, when somebody starts doing like Anthony Nash for Cork a few seasons ago, when he started picking up the ball and driving around 10, 20 yards or something, and then it became a rule where you have to you hit it at a required distance. This will become a rule sooner rather than later. I'd say, the more this goes on. So we might laugh at it now, but over the next few months, it might become a bit more serious, and there could be a few tasty encounters there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you have to admire Davy Fitz at times. Like he's always thinking outside of the box, and it might be controversial, but he certainly is thinking outside of the box. Make no mistake about that. We'll run through some Division Two results from the weekend. So we had Kerry 18 points, Carlow 113, Offaly 33 points, Derry 115, and probably the standout result of the weekend in Division Two, Kildare 117, down 19 points. So back-to-back wins for Kildare, and they're certainly putting their hands up to potentially play Division One hurling next year.
They are very good performances from Kildare at the moment. Like your man James Burke is doing excellent at the moment, 18 points so far in the league. Very good performance, and we knew his quality from the NACE team very good. And Kildare, like it's an interesting one with Kildare. Like they did so well with Naas in the club championship, and a lot of people are thinking it's a surprise. But when you study Kildare hurling, you're thinking, yeah, it's not really a, a surprise when you think about it for this Kildare team. Like they're doing pretty well to be down by a point, and yeah, it was a brilliant showing. Kerry apparently didn't perform well against Carlo, but they still got the win. Fair play to them. Awfully 33 points, like Awfully should be aiming to go back up to Division One. It should be interesting to see the exchanges between Offaly, Kerry, and Kildare on 4 points each. So very good performance from them. And before we leave Division 2A, I think it was a disgrace at League Sunday last night. They didn't actually show any of the games. Kildare and Down was shown on BBC iPlayer. There's no excuse for RT. Show the Kildare game. We're looking at a team rising up through the ranks, getting 4 points out of a possible four, and haven't played the Liam McCarthy for donkey's years, and you're not showing them. I mean, it's ridiculous, really. Like Donald Cusack talks about developing the game of hurling. How are you going to develop the game of hurling if these games aren't even shown? On a weekend where there's no football action, there's only 6 hurling games, and to be honest, 3 hurling games in Division One we named didn't really matter. When you look at the grand scheme of things, we knew the result before the ball was thrown in. So why aren't you showing these games? It's ridiculous, to be honest with you, Aaron. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, but I was angered by it last night. It was a brilliant opportunity to show these games, especially Kildare's game. But RT again, ignore Division 2 hurling and below.
Yeah, like is it that they think the interest maybe isn't there? Because I know, like with the hurling league and with Division One, as we've said, like the interest clearly hasn't been there. And even in my own videos in the hurling league, they very rarely do well at all, and a lot of it, does boil down to the fact that the league just isn't that exciting. So when you look at Division Two, like you're going even further down, and I know it means a lot maybe to Kildare supporters, but then again, Kildare are a predominant football county. I don't even know if like I don't know. I would like to know what the attendance was that day. For Kildare, for the Kildare fans, are they buying in? Is there a buy-in? Like, is the interest there? Like that's maybe what I'd say.
It's an interesting point, but how do you build up interest at the same time? Showing these games. That's how you build up interest. The reason why, we can't talk like I try my best to talk about like I'm doing stats on the Division Two and below scoring to give the players recognition they deserve. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do my bit, but you can't really comment on these games if they're not really being shown, and the interest level is dropped in because RT just don't show the games, and that's like it's basically hands behind tied behind their back, and we're thinking what else can we talk about here because RT don't show it, we can't see the games, So yeah, the interest level that's an interesting one. Like I'm hearing from Kildare fans, they're interested about this team. Kerry, there's a predominant part in Kerry about hurling. There's North Kerry into hurling. Offaly, for example, the whole of Offaly, I would imagine, is into hurling, and that game wasn't shown yesterday. I mean, it's ridiculous when you think about Carlow. I would think the whole county there is interested in hurling, considering Carlow rising over the last few seasons. They were the Leinster Championship, let's not forget, a few seasons ago. Like the interest should be there. And when you look at for example, going on to Division 2B there, Sligo and Wicklow, they're Division 4 in football. They're in a high enough division in hurling. So you think those fans would get behind those counties if they got the recognition they deserve, if they got shown on national television. But the reality is, they're not. And it's an utter disgrace when you think about it. The closest thing where you could see Sligo hurling is either through Buff Egan or Aske in the club championship for Sligo. That's it. I mean, it's ridiculous, really. Like I think a Laois fan said in 2019 after the win against Dublin, that Buff Egan is the only lad, like him or not, for Buff Egan, he does show the smaller counties. Like he showed more coverage of the Kerry Carlow game yesterday than anybody else. And that's just through an iPhone or something. I mean, it's ridiculous when you think about it. It was a great weekend, Aaron. It was the ideal weekend to showcase these hurling teams, and they just didn't do it. And I was angered by it, to be honest with you. But how you get the interest level up is by showing the games, and RT are not doing that at all at the moment.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. Like I was more so just sort of playing devil's advocate, maybe from a TV, from an RTE perspective. But I do agree. I think like the only way you increase interest is by showing the games, is by promoting the games, is by advertising them. And I think if you could allow, like I've never really understood why like counties their own social media, why they can't show clips. Like for example, Offaly GEA, like I'm sure Offaly GEA could have someone at the game recording the game, and then they could post their own highlights on their Instagram or on their Twitter or even on their own YouTube, for example. I don't understand why counties don't do that. Like I think it'd be so easy, and it's such an easy way to grow the game. Now I understand maybe not every county wants to do that or maybe has the funds to do that, but it's not straightforward. It's not that hard really to pick up a camera, as you said. Buff Egan is doing it, and he's doing it with an iPhone. So I mean, why can't and I don't know if these counties are not allowed to do that if they're told like that that's a breach of rights or whatever or etc etc. But I just think like that's a common solution. Like at least show highlights. If you're not going to show full games, at least show highlights.
Exactly, yeah. And even like if the GA aren't allowing these counties to showcase the games, like just see it, just go through RT then and say show the games. If you don't show the games, why can't we bring a camera to a game? It's ridiculous, really. And like RT, like I think RT, like they go on about rising the game of hurling. Donald Cusack has gone on about the hurling needs oxygen and stuff like that. If hurling needs oxygen, why aren't you showing Division 2 games on TV? Why? I just want to ask why aren't you showing these games, especially Kildare and Down? That took the biscuit now yesterday because that was shown on BBC iPlayer. There was no excuse why RT couldn't show that game as highlights. It's ridiculous. They were going on about, situations about Kilkenny's defence and stuff like that. And we said it at the start of the show here. It doesn't really matter in terms of the league. The league doesn't matter in terms of tactics and stuff like that. They'll implement new tactics in the championship. So it's pretty much a waste of time. Why can't you use that time to promote Division 2A, Division 2B, to rise the game of hurling? And as Donald Cusack described it as oxygen. Why? It's ridiculous, really. And yeah, and that's why we can't comment on these games because we aren't showing we don't have the necessary, requirements to show these games or to comment on these games. And it's really sad, Aaron. It really is really sad. And hopefully RT learned their lessons in the next few seasons, but honestly, I don't think they will.
Yeah, a few comments coming in earlier that I forgot to read out in relation to Dublin's win. So Keane says, good win for Dublin. They've plenty to improve on before the Tip match as they fell asleep at critical moments in the first and second half when they were ahead, allowing Antrim back into the game. The Dubs will definitely be happy to escape Parnell Park with the win following the draw with Waterford in the opening round. They're in a good place after 2 rounds, but tougher games are to come. Yeah, I suppose in terms of results wise, like with 3 points on the board, it probably is a good a good return. But as you said there, like definitely plenty to work on. I suppose before we do finish up, I wanted to touch on the Sigerson Cup final, which is taking place on Wednesday night. It's going to be UCC against University College Cork up against University of Limerick. Obviously, you're a UL man yourself, and you were in the final last year. Of course, David Clifford was playing in the final last year. Wasn't meant to be. NUIG obviously got the job done and got the victory that day. So I suppose maybe this is a bit of a weird one for you because obviously they're going up against a college from Cork. So I suppose maybe a bit of a win-win for yourself.
Probably is, yeah. Jeez, I never thought it would get to this stage. To be honest with you, I thought it'd be something like a TUD in the final against DCU. To be honest with you, like looking at the form book, but yeah, alas, it's these two in the final. It's going to be a very interesting exchange. Like I thought at the start of the year they struggle without David Clifford, without Sean Powter as well, a good Cork player in the UL College. He was missing as well this year, but they still have Owen McLaughlin. They still have Dark Ashman from Cork. Paul Keane, he's a very good player from Leitrim this season. Paul Walsh, obviously friends of Ronaldinho, he's in the team as well. So you will have a good crop of players. UCC have a decent crop of players, combined with Cork, Kerry, and Sean O'Connor, and what's his name, another lad from Tipperary as well. Reed Quigley is his name. Yeah, so they have Tipperary, Kerry, and Cork. But they don't seem to be getting good results, if you know what I mean, UCC. They've gone through two penalty shootouts. They lost against UL. They won the second game against ATU Galway. And then against TUD, they were poor enough, like shooting wise and stuff like that. I thought it was a very poor game in the semi final. So, like, it should be interesting to see what UCC turns up in the final. UL obviously were excellent against DCU in the semi final. Maybe they got a bit of luck considering Matthew Costello, Shane Walsh, and Robert Finnerty were all injured for DCU, which kind of cut them back a small bit. But yeah, I suppose it is a win-win situation for me. Who would I rather win? Look, when you look at the Roll of Honour, UCC are going for their 24th title. They've won 23 titles. Their last one in 2019. UL have never won it. I know they got to the final last year and they got to the final this year. So I know I'm a Cork man, but I'd rather UL to win it, to be honest with you, because they've got it for so many years now. They put so much into it last year and came out with nothing. This is the year where UL do it, surely, to God. They've been performing probably the better out of the two teams, but don't write off UCC either. We wrote off NUIG last year and they turned UL over. So should be a very interesting game, and great that the game is shown at TG4 to the watching world.
Yeah, and looking at that win for UL against DCU, like I remember from briefly sort of watching the game and seeing the score, like I mean, it was definitely a result that surprised a lot of people. I mean, beating DCU was one thing, but beating them by 9 points, and I think DCU were heavy favourites, not just for the game, but also the Sigerson Cup title, and in a whole spectrum. Like when you look at DCU's team, like the likes of Shane O'Donnell, Connor Corbett, Lorcan O'Dell, Oisin Gallen, Keelan McGann, like I mean, so much talent all across the field. And as you said, like UL, like from looking at them, probably don't have the star names. Like there's not, when I look at their starting 15, there isn't too many names that jump out. But as you've said, they've done so well to get to this point, and it shows how well coached they must be. The fact that they were able to beat DCU as well as they did.
Yeah, exactly. So, and they haven't actually lost a game so far. I know they lost at a penalty shootout to TU Dublin, but they've done excellent so far, and that's a credit to Declan Browder and his management team. They beat UCC the first day, and then they lost in penalties to TU Dublin. But let's not forget, TU Dublin kind of had that team ethic that you need in the team, and they were probably favourites to get to the final against UCC at last. They didn't. Hammered SETU Carlo in the next round UL, and then University of Galway. That was a big win for them because University of Galway had 2 goals in the quarterfinals early on in the game, and you were thinking, how are UL going to recover? Are they going to lose to this Galway College again? But then Paul Walsh scores a remarkable goal, and suddenly UL are back in the game, and Emma McMahon shows some great determination, getting 2 frees towards the end, and then they obviously beat DCU. And what I noticed about this UL team, a lot of them are Clare players actually. And we mentioned on my podcast, your podcast, during the week and stuff like that, that Clare are kind of underrated. And when you look at the Clare players of this UL team, Kieran Downs, Emma McMahon, Daniel Walsh, Aaron Griffin, like that's a bulk of their team. Like that's incredible, really. And they're doing very well. Owen McLaughlin, Jack Coyne from Mayo. You have your man Paul Heaney from Leitrim as well, Darragh Cashman from Cork, Mark Linehan from Cork. So there's a nice mix of these UL players. Jack Lynn, obviously from Galway as well, an all-Ireland finalist against Kerry last season. So there's a nice mix of these UL players from all different types of counties. You also have players from Louth as well, strangely enough. So yeah, I suppose it's a credit to Declan Browder that he's getting these players all from different counties to gel so well together. And that's brilliant from him. Like when you look at it compared to UCC are mainly Munster. They're all Munster, in fact. When you look at the UL players, some of them are Connacht, Munster, a few from Leinster as well. So it's brilliant that Declan Browder's getting these players together, and they're yielding some very good results, not just this season, but last season as well, to get to the final there as well.
Yeah, and I suppose for UCC, like that result against TU Dublin, like a big result as well, and probably another one that maybe caught some people by surprise when you look at how well TU Dublin had been doing. And as you said, plenty of Cork players, Kerry players in around that squad, the likes of Cathal O'Mahony, the likes of Dylan Gainey, Mark Cronin in there as well. So I mean, UCC looking fairly strong, and you certainly wouldn't rule them out from, as you said, going on to win a 24th time.
Exactly. So, like, it's a strange one, UCC, because they haven't played well when you look at their run to the final. They lost to UL in the first game. ACU Galway, okay, they hammered them pretty comprehensively. They then went through 2 penalty shootouts against Ulster colleges in Queen's and St. Mary's. Like the St. Mary's game, I was watching that in detail on a live stream, and geez, they should have won the game pretty early. I think they were like 1-8 to 7 points up, and they should have had the game wrapped up completely. But then somehow St. Mary's scored 1-1 in the last few minutes and the game goes to extra time. And they needed to call O'Mahony free to take it to penalties. And they need Dylan Gainey, who, by the way, Dylan Gainey is an interesting story. He's actually, by trade, he's a club forward for Aerogue in Cork. And he's somehow a goalkeeper in this. Like, he's only played in goal, really, for UCC. And in that one game for Cork against Kerry and Parky Rin last season, where he saved a shot from David Clifford. So it's a remarkable story from him. And he's been the penalty hero in this campaign. He's probably been the goalkeeper of the competition. So that's a very good, very good for him. And then against TU Dublin, they missed a lot of shots in this game. Like Cathal O'Mahony, I know he scored 5 points, but he missed, I think, 6 of them. Like Dylan Gainey missed the load in that game. He got a crucial goal, missed the load as well. And TU Dublin, if they had a bit of go about them in the last few minutes, they could have easily got the game wrapped up. And a guy that really has, did so well in the campaign so far, and especially in the semi-final, Daniel O'Mahony from Cork, full-back. I've been talking about this guy for ages. Maybe I said a few things about the league game. Maybe that was one game. But in the semi-final, he got 7 turnovers won in the semi-final against TU Dublin. He was excellent in that game. So watch out for him on Wednesday night. It should be a very interesting game. And yeah, should be intriguing. Watch it. Think UL are going to win it. But in so many cases, you have these teams peaking too early, and then you have teams that are going along nicely, and then the final day explode into form. UCC kind of have that trait about them, but we'll have to see on Wednesday night. All will be revealed.
Who are you predicting then to get the victory?
I'm going to go UL slightly. But I think UCC, there's going to be a kick in them. Like Billy Morgan's their manager as well. I know he's nearly 80 years of age, but there's going to be a kick in this guy, to win a 24th title for UCC will be incredible achievement for him. And maybe, like we talk about Mickey Hart and Mickey O'Dwyer and John Kiley as one of the best managers, Jim Gavin, of course, as one of the best managers in history. Could Billy Morgan be up there as well? Win the most amount of All Ireland titles as a Cork football manager, and he's won plenty of titles in secrets level for UCC as well. So, and for Nemo Rangers, of course. So, could he be up there if UCC win this Secrets Cup title? I think he should be. But anyway, I think UL will win it, but don't write off UCC just yet.
Yeah, like I think I'd edge towards UL as well. Like I think a 9-point win against DCU, like that's a real standout win, really. Like when you look at it, but as you said, like UCC, like you definitely can't bet too far past them either. But yeah, we will go ahead and wrap this up here, Matthew. Cheers very much for coming on, and I'll obviously be on your own show during the week as well, so make sure for everyone to go and check that out. So yeah, cheers anyone who tuned in. If they could hit the like button and subscribe, be much appreciated. And cheers, Matthew, for tuning in.
Thanks very much, Aaron. Happy to help.